Hi, welcome to the NCEA presentation on hosting a successful, engaging, and personalized open house. My name is Carrie Cooch, and I will be your presenter for today. Let's start with our opening prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Good and gracious God, we thank you for our ministry of Catholic education. We place our work in your hands and ask you to guide us as we serve our community. Let our work be a reflection of your love and kindness. For you have called us by name and call us to build community in your name. May the work we do and the way we do it bring hope, vitality, and life to our schools and faith communities. Secure in your love, may your light shine forth in all activities done in your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So as we start this session, I wanted to share with you kind of what my goal is for this session and what I hope that you will gain from it. So really, no matter what your school setting or your situation, no matter your role at your school, if you're a president, if you're a principal, if you're the admissions director, if you're an ambassador, if you're a volunteer, whatever role you might have, or a teacher, and no matter your experience with open house events, my goal is that you can see the open house experience for more than you previously had after this session, and that you come away with at least one nugget or idea that you can implement. So as we begin, I wanted to just share a little bit with you what my enrollment management story looks like, so you know the perspective that I'm coming to you with. So my name is Carrie Cooch. I'm currently the director of admissions at Seton Catholic High School, and a Catholic high school in Vancouver, Washington. But let me just tell you kind of what my journey has been through enrollment management. I started as an admissions counselor at Portland State University. And during that time, my focus was really on coordinating the preview days and open house events for the university. Now, Portland State University is on an urban campus with over 20,000 students in enrollment with 7 colleges. So that was some pretty big events to coordinate during those times. And I had a great time doing it and learned a great about event coordination, as well as the admissions process there. When I left Portland State University, I moved to be the director of admissions at St. Mary's Academy in Portland, Oregon, an all-girls Catholic high school in Portland. And at that time, really what I was kind of charged to do in that role was to revamp the admissions process at the school. And the kind of focus that we took was making it a very personalized experience and making it fun for the girls. At the time that I was there, from 98 to 2003, it was within about 5 to 10 years of the school being the only single-sex school in the state anymore, because a couple of the all-boys schools around us had gone co-ed. So that definitely made for some challenges in admissions, trying to convince girls that all girls was a great idea, but had a great time being the director of admissions during that. I left St. Mary's to really stay home with my own children, but during that time spent a lot of time being the ambassador at St. Joe's Catholic School, where my kids were going to school here in Vancouver, Washington, and that's a K-8 program. So as I worked there, served in a lot of different capacities: pastoral counselor, school commission, auction committee, a buddy family, ambassador at open house, just lots of ways of being engaged in the K-8 school. So over that time period, I did the high school for a significant portion of time, was also in the university, and then working K-8. So kind of span that whole entire levels of experience. And then in 2014, I took my current position, which is the director of admissions at Seton Catholic. To give you a little history about Seton Catholic, we opened our doors in 2009, started with 38 students at that time. We were in a small office building, 8 classrooms. A quick tour took 5 minutes as we walked around in a little circle. But we've grown a great deal since then. In 2016, we moved to our new campus. Our enrollment has grown. When we left our old campus, we were at 160 students, and now we are at 230, and we see growth for next year as well. So it's been fun to grow the school, watch enrollment greatly expand, and to welcome lots of new families into our community. Also, in addition to this, definitely during the last 2 years with COVID, I've been highly connected with ISPD, the Institute for School and Parish Development, being a part of their cohorts and their development school, and just learning a great deal through their process, as well as kind of adding my own experience and sharing that through their various functions as well. So you'll see a little bit of ISPD information kind of woven throughout this, because I've learned a great deal from them. So let us get started in terms of what are we going to be talking about? We're talking about hosting a successful open house. And there's lots of different ways to measure that success. So we're going to talk about our goal setting for our open houses, and then promoting it, preparation and planning, engaging our community and training our ambassadors, personalizing the experience, welcoming our guests, touring and highlighting, and then of course we can't forget the thanking, evaluating, and follow-up. So that's our roadmap for today's session. So let's jump right on into a really important part, the goal setting. How does open house fit into your overall enrollment process? We have to ask this question. We have to know, when is the right time to host an open house? How do we invite people into it? What are our desired goals and outcomes of our open house? And also, how are we going to measure those outcomes? So let's kind of explore this. First off, you have to see, how does open house fit into your cycle? I've laid out what our cycle is here at Seton Catholic. Probably pretty similar for other high schools. But if you're in a K-8 school, or if you're in a K-12 school, you need to take that time to sit down and say, what is my enrollment cycle? And when is the best time to do open house? A lot of high schools I know do open house in the fall, because that fits the enrollment cycle best. K-8s that I've worked with, they typically do open houses in January, February, kind of aligned with Catholic Schools Week, and a great time when you're getting ready to do your re-enrollment process, as well as welcoming new families in. But you just need to see how it fits in to the overall cycle. So I encourage you to take some time looking at that. Then looking at what are your desired outcomes in terms of, why are you hosting the open house? What do you plan to get out of it? For us at Seton, obviously, we want to just build excitement about our school, to welcome new families that have never had the opportunity to walk on our campus before, to have that opportunity. So who's your target audience, and how are you going to reach your target audience? How are you going to, what do you want them to see and to hear and to feel and to know and experience in your open house events? Because that's going to help you design what your open house looks like, and how you're going to ask of all of your different constituents what you're going to put together in that experience, and see who all needs to be involved in your open house. So you need to set some goals that you wish to accomplish. And not only do you need to set them, but you need to share them with your faculty and your staff. So as we look at what our goals are at Seton, we want to showcase and share our top 10 and our wow. We'll talk about that in a minute if you're not familiar with those terms. We want to set our goals for what a positive guest experience looks like, what a positive faculty, staff, and ambassador experience looks like. So it's not just the people that you're inviting to come, but also the people that you're asking to be a part of your event and helping you with it. And also, just what are your goals for relationship and community building for this event? So we're going to break that down a little bit more. If you haven't heard of Top 10 and WOW, I encourage you to look at a couple of resources that are available for the Institute of School and Parish Development, ISPD. They have those teachings through their enrollment management courses, cohort sessions, and the NCEA publication, 25 Lessons Learned by Frank Donaldson. In a nutshell, the top 10 is really a process by which your school identifies your top 10 bragging points. And it's not just one person sitting down and saying, oh, these are the top 10 things that our school is fantastic about. Nope, it's an entire process that really engages people clear throughout your school and your community to identify what are those top 10. So once you have those top 10, an open house is a fantastic way to really show what is important to your school, and to bring those top 10 pieces to life, and to be able to demonstrate them and have people feel them and see them and touch them and experience them within the walls of your school. So really sharing, what do you do well? And then the wow is that one thing that distinguishes you from everyone else. And And the cool thing about a WOW is it's tourable. So open house is a perfect opportunity to be able to showcase what your WOW is at your school. And a WOW is something that's seen and felt. Again, open house is a great time for you to do that. So as you're planning out your open house and as you're thinking about the activities that you're going to have present at your open house, recalling what your top 10 are and really focusing in on those and thinking of your wow and how you're going to demonstrate your wow to your guests is an important piece of the process. So then let's talk about, what does a positive guest experience look like? We want our guests to have a positive experience when they come to open house. So how do you set your goals for that? At Seton, we outline our positive guest experiences. We want them to feel welcome. And how are we going to do that? Well, we know for sure we're going to greet them upon arrival. That's our first step. And then there's many other steps to that. We also want them to feel personally known. So at Seton, we have 3 key things that we like to highlight in terms of our families to let them know what their students going to feel within our experience, and personally known is one of them. So when they come to our open house, we want them to feel personally known at our open house. So how are we going to do that? We're going to call them by name. We're going to ask them about their individual interests, experiences, and desires. And then we want them to experiencing learning coming alive, because we truly believe that learning comes alive in our classrooms. So at open house, we're going to have hands-on opportunities within our classrooms and engage our teachers who are passionate about their subjects so that the students and the parents can engage with them and really get to know our teachers during those few short minutes that they're in the classroom. We want them to be exciting and personalized and engaged. And then we want them to have the opportunity to see what it means to be a comprehensive student and what that experience looks like within our walls. So at the end of their open house, they can see themselves at Seton through the various clubs and activities and athletics and the hands-on exploration that we're giving them during that day to talk with students and coaches and advisors and feel and touch and see what it would be like to be a student at Seton. We want to make sure that as part of their experience, they got their questions answered. And they could see, hear, and feel the spirit of Seton, the spirit of our school. So those are some of the objectives that we set out for what it means to have a positive guest experience. Now, these aren't necessarily the easiest to quantify in terms of being able to assess your outcomes, but through our evaluation process that we send to families at the end of the open house, we touch upon all of these aspects to see how well we did in trying to reach these experiences that we set as our goals. We do have some measurable goals that we also set for ourselves for our open house. So think about your process. Think about the things that are outcomes that can come after your event that you can then measure. So one of them is our marketing outreach for the event. How well did we do ahead of time in getting our word out to letting people know that this was available to them, that they could come check out our school? So see what you can do in terms of quantifying your marketing outreach for your event. The number of emails hits that you get when you share it on social media, how many views are you getting, all of those, and the likes and the shares and all of that. We also look at our registration numbers and our actual attendance numbers for the event. The number of spend-a-days that are scheduled after the event, that's a huge one for us. The number of applications submitted either the day of the event or within that next week or two afterwards, just kind of tracking of all the people that came through open house. Have they gotten their applications in, and in what time frame did they do that? And then also our registrations for the high school placement test. That's another way that we kind of track our outcomes and see how excited people are in terms of how quickly they sign up for these next steps in our admissions process. Then I mentioned we also like to look at the flip side of things. When we're looking at a successful open house experience, it is not only the experience for our guests and the prospective students and the prospective families, but it's a community event for us. This is about building relationships on an entire whole for our entire Seton community. We want people to be a part of our community. We want our students to be involved. We want our faculty and staff engaged and just want to really share their experience. So we set goals for ourselves in terms of what does it mean to have a positive faculty, staff, or ambassador experience for our open house. So we want them to have the ability to provide input so they feel and they have a voice in the planning and execution of open house. that they felt valued so that they know their role and they know the importance of that role, that they felt supported in performing that role so that we've provided them the training, the materials, and the assistance that they need in order to perform whatever role it is we're asking of them or that they have volunteered to assist us with. We want them to feel appreciated. They're giving a big chunk of time for us. Our open houses are on a Sunday, usually 4 hours. It means they're arriving at least a half an hour before that, at least a half an hour. So they're giving up at least 5 hours on a Sunday, as well as all the prep time that might be required for them to put it together. So we want them to feel appreciated. So in terms of hospitality and thanks and how do we do that? That's an important piece for us and our goals, and that they feel like they have had a part in and an important role in creating and sharing the spirit of Seton during the open house event. So these are some of our goals that we identify for those that are assisting us in putting our event together. And as we look at a successful, engaging, and personalized open house, it's more than an admissions and enrollment event, as I've kind of spoken to. So we really like to see it as it's a relationship building event. And it's a community building event with our entire school community, not just bringing in prospective families, not just showing, future students what it might look like, but engaging our current students. They love to show off this school, and empowering them to do so is a really important part for us. And it just builds that ownership to ask parents to come in and assist in sharing their story and building the legacy of our school. It's an important thing to think of open house just in that greater perspective. And there's so much more reward that can come from it when we think of it more than just being the number of students that walked through the door and the number of applications we got within a time frame after that event. So that kind of just sums up our goals. So as we think of an open house, of course, we've got to get people there. So the first step that we're looking at as we're starting to execute our planning for the open house is the promoting of the event. Super important, because we can plan the best open house in the world, but if we didn't get the people in the door to come experience it, it's just not worth it. So the promoting for us starts very early. We set the date early. In fact, I've already got my date set for next year's open house in October. And we will be sending out our save the date postcards and flyers and emails and information to all of our families that we're connected with in May and June so that they can get that on their calendar and get that blocked out, because goodness knows we know these families are super busy and weekends fill up super fast. So we want them to be excited about it and share that. We also share our save the date postcard throughout the summer at all of our summer camps so that our younger students that are on our campus experiencing all of our athletics and our institutes, they get that opportunity to know when our open house is so that they can come and experience that day with us. As school starts in the fall, we do personalized visits to all of our middle school feeder schools and give them the open house invite and encourage those students to take that home to their parents so that they can plan to attend our open house. We deliver flyers and posters to all of the other private middle schools in our area. We personalize invites to all of our prospects in our database. So we send a personalized invitation to them. We have flyers that we have printed and we have emailed, and we do that in both English and Spanish, as one of our missions is to increase our Latino and Hispanic community within our school. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out and are accessible to them as well. We do parish bulletin flyers. So the flyer is inserted into our parish bulletin. Several of our parishes have Hispanic masses as well as English masses. So we send both versions of our flyer to those parishes for them to distribute. Our location is an interesting one in that if you're not familiar with Vancouver, Washington, we are in the southwest region of the Archdiocese of Seattle. We are the only Catholic high school in the Southern Deanery, and we have 3 K-8 Catholic middle schools that feed into us. Across the river from us in Portland, there are another 6 Catholic high schools, lots more grade schools, about 27. Up until the point that Seton was established in 2009, our students that went to our K-8 Catholic middle schools went across the river to high school if they wanted to continue their Catholic education into high school. So Seton was really established to keep people here in our community, to stay in Washington. They don't have to cross the river, lots of traffic over there in that Portland area. Let's stay here in our nice little Vancouver community. Um, and so we have this wonderful relationship with the Southern Deanery. There are 10 to 12 churches that support us. We have our 3 Catholic K-8 schools. And so it's just a really nice community where we have a lot of support from a wide variety of parishes around us, and making it accessible for Catholic families to send their students to Catholic high school in the area. So I would encourage you, as you look at this list and I share it from our Seton perspective, think of how does this work within your parish, within your community and your area? Because I know everybody's different, but I am really confident that many of these things that I'm sharing, you can tweak it just a little bit, talk to your team and figure out how could we implement this in our area. Of course, we all have our websites. We hit our homepage with the news story links. It's on our admissions. It's just about everywhere. We do a pre-registration for our open house, which I'll talk about later, but that is right on. Sign up for open house is the first thing people see when they hit our website during that time frame before our open house. Social media, of course, is huge. There's, presentations in and of itself that we could do on social media and how to utilize that for open house, as well as a lot of other marketing and recruitment type issues. We tell all of our board members, all of our committee members, all of our supporters about open house and ask them to share the news. They know families that they think would be great at Seton. This is the perfect time for them to invite them and come and see. So we just really use that word of mouth networking and give people the tools, the flyers, our postcards and invites, and just ask them to share that out. We also, our best word of mouth are our current parents and students. And we actually do an incentive program for our current parents and students that if they invite somebody and that person, when they register for open house, lists their name, we give them a coffee card just to say thank you. So that's just a nice little way to say thanks a lot for recommending us and encouraging these families to come check us out. Our coaches and club advisors, obviously, as well. So just all of those big supporters. Here is just a sample of what we do. Our flyer here on the left that just showcases, we like to make it fun and energetic and just, you want people to come. Doesn't have to be a whole lot of information on just the highlights and telling them that call to action to reserve your spot now. And then over on the right-hand side are the 2 sides of a postcard that we also developed that's an easy handout to people, as well as something that we can quickly drop in the mail to people that are in our database. So those are some of our promotion materials. And then when it comes to online social media, we have these fun images that we've created that just highlight some of our students and some of those great characteristics that they possess. And we use these images kind of throughout our recruiting process, but launch them usually every year at our open house. So this was our first notification of our open house on our Instagram page, and then followed that up a little bit later with a different version of it, letting them know we still had a few spots left and to encourage them to sign up before registration closed. So those are some things that we've done through our social media to encourage families to come and check us out. So while all that promoting is going on, and that's a several month process of just making sure that that promoting is continuing to happen and we're getting the word out there so that families are signing up and getting registered, we also do our planning piece and just getting things ready for the event. So as we look at the planning aspect of it, we start early. I start much earlier than actually when we start working with our faculty, but I started with the faculty and staff piece. We mentioned it at our in-service as we start in August. So a good 2 months before the event itself, just starting to lay that foundation with our faculty and staff, reminding them that it's on their calendar and that we'll be doing this coming up soon. And then reminders at our biweekly staff meetings, just in terms of the things and the calls to action that we might have for them. I create a spreadsheet of every employee and their role and position for open house so that it's really clear as to where everyone is at. It gives them the ability to request student volunteers for their spaces, depending upon what they're doing. And then just everybody has access to that sheet to just understand what the big picture is for the event, as well as what their specific role for the open house is. When it comes to facilities, there's a whole lot of planning that can be coordinated just to get your facilities looking the best. This is an open house. We want the building shining. So we lay out just the detailed cleaning, kind of, when you've got guests coming over to the house and you do that deep dive, that's what we want to make sure that we do. And then I share the layout and setup needs for our entire event. So that's an important piece for us as well that sometimes can get overlooked. Designing the tour and the talking points and tour training. This takes, once you get your tour designed from year to year, you can pretty much keep it the same unless you make some big changes to your open house. But when you're talking about the talking points and then the tour training, those are some really important preparation pieces. Identifying who's going to be giving your tours and also then training those people to do it well and share that information. That's really important so that it's a consistent message going out to all of the families that are visiting and that it's an accurate message. Those are some of the things that we really talk about within our experience. Decorations, we want it to look fun. So we make plans for the balloons and the tablecloths and the signage. And we have students that work on our, make signs all over the building. So I have a group within our student body that does that. In a few more slides, you'll see some examples of how we just decorate the place up. But of course, making plans on how you're just gonna spruce it up and have it look fun and festive for everyone. Refreshments, of course, when you invite guests over, it's always nice to have something planned. So we do food and set up and have parent ambassadors that are on hand to help us with that piece. And then one thing, with COVID, there's been lots of challenges, but we've also discovered that with COVID, sometimes good new processes have come out of this challenge that we have faced in the last couple of years. And I will say one thing that I never thought that I would love to do for an open house is to do a pre-registration. And just, I thought that that would always be a hassle. Well, we had to limit the number of people at our open house during COVID. So I had to implement a pre-registration process and set up timeframes for people to come and did all of that. And it was the best thing we could have ever done for our open house. And I always thought, well, what about those people that just last minute want to come? Well, we've been able to accommodate them too. So we're coming up with kind of a little bit of a hybrid method. But I encourage you, if you've never thought of pre-registering for open house, or just depending upon how that process looks for you, consider it. The pre-registration process has really enabled us to personalize our open house experience to a level that I hadn't envisioned prior to this experience. And so it's given us a great way to know who's coming, plan well for who's coming, and really personalize it. Also sending reminder emails, because sometimes these people are registering a couple of months in advance, and I've got all the contact info to remain in touch with them and to serve them very well. And just that registration process when they arrive, in terms of assigning ambassadors for their tours, prepping all of the materials and having everything ready for them when they arrive. So those are a lot of the planning and preparation pieces that you just need to kind of think through and consider as you're getting ready to host the open house. For us, it's all about engaging the community. So everyone is involved. And we make it a contract day for all of our employees. Everyone is needed and has a purpose. I mentioned that spreadsheet earlier where all of our faculty and staff are here and they have a role and they know what that role is. We use our Gold Team ambassadors. Now, those are my student ambassadors that go through special selection and training to work with us in admissions. They're the ones I take out for visits to schools. They're the ones that are touring our students for Spend a Day, and they're doing tours at our open house. It's one of the biggest and most important jobs that they have. And they go through extensive training in doing that as well. And then we have student volunteers. Now, these students aren't part of my goal team of ambassador group, so they haven't been trained necessarily to the highest level that the goal team ambassadors have, but they're students that love our school, that have an area that they're super passionate about, and they're here to help for open house as well. So they're usually helping with athletics, or they're helping in clubs and academic departments that they are interested in. And so that really helps just have more resources available and have more faces for people to interact with, and just helps us personalize the experience so much better. Then we have our parent volunteers. And these are students that just, parents that just want to help. So they help me prep materials, they help me organize some things in advance. And then parent ambassadors, and you're like, volunteers, ambassadors, what's the difference? So our parent ambassadors are kind of like my goal team ambassadors. They've been selected. They're part of my core team in admissions. And they are passionate about helping us continue to just expand Seton and share Seton. And they've been through additional training and just know our top 10. They know our wow. They're familiar with what the admissions process is. They can answer a lot of questions, and they're really engaged in our community. So those parent ambassadors are the ones that we invite to actively participate in open house, to share their stories. As parents are going through, yeah, we've got the engagement with the students so that they can talk to the students and really connect on a student to student level. Well, parents need that too. And so having current parents at the open house to be able to interact and to answer questions to a prospective family, they're more authentic. They talk to me, I could say the same thing as a parent, and they're like, yeah, but you're paid to say that. Whereas the parent ambassadors, they're not paid to say it. They're experiencing it and they're living it. Now, granted, I'm a parent too, but there's something about being paid for it that people just don't quite, they appreciate having that parent voice as well. And so we're really happy to be able to provide that. Our coaches, our club advisors, and even alums. Now we're a young school. Our first graduating class graduated in the 2012. They are back in the area, having graduated from college now, and love to come back and visit us and help as they can. So it's nice to be able to bring our alums back into that. For some of you, I know you've got decades and decades worth of alums that you can call upon, that can share their story and that can be invited to participate in open house. And I challenge you to do that and to get them involved in the planning or at the event itself, or even in sharing the information and inviting people. There's so many different ways that we can engage that part of our community as well. So when we're talking about engaging and training our ambassadors themselves, I talked about our goal team of ambassadors, which are our students, and the core team, which is made up of staff and parents that are kind of the main ambassadors that really know the admissions process and really are engaged in helping us kind of build our enrollment efforts. When it comes to the training of these individuals, there's a few pieces that we want to make sure that we are all on the same page about. And that is just having that welcoming environment. And how do we welcome people onto our campus and help them make sure that they know that we want them to be personally known, and that we want to know them well, and that we want to share this experience with them. We train them on knowing the top 10, knowing our wow, the tour training for our students, and actually some parents in case I need to call upon them for backups. And then just what does it mean to enjoy the spirit of Seton? So what does that look like? What does that feel like? And how do we embody that and share that with others? So that's what our training looks like. When it comes to our students, I hold sessions during the day. There are training sessions for them. And then our core team, when we meet, we spend at least one of our meetings just really talking about open house and the training aspects to prepare for that event. Personalizing the experience. So I'm sure many of you have been to lots of different open house experiences over the 20 plus years that I've been in enrollment management. I've put on lots of different events and they've looked very different and they've had different levels of personalization and different levels of engaging with individuals on on a one-on-one level. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Carrie, that's great when you've got 230 students in a school and you're looking at an open house of maybe inviting 60 people in an afternoon. But we're a huge school and we have 200, 300, 400 people come through an open house. How in the world do we make that work for our setting? So I know it's different. Maybe it's not as easy as what I'm doing with the numbers that I'm doing it with. Um, but I challenge you to think about it because I know that it can be done. I have some ideas on how that can be done. Um, and I just want you to see the importance of it. We have to think outside of the box. We have to move beyond that age old. A whole bunch of people walk in the door. We throw them into a tour group, and we take them on a tour of the building, and we think that that's going to be enough. Because I don't think it is anymore. And so these are some of the things that we've incorporated into our experience to really help personalize it. Again, granted, my numbers might be a little bit easier to do it, but if you want to brainstorm with me and you've got a specific setting that you're like, oh, how would this work for me? I'm happy to talk about that. I love brainstorming and tossing ideas out and seeing how we can make things work. But this is what we do to really try to make a difference. So when we have pre-registration, I have all the names. I know exactly when they're arriving, and I know what their interests are when they register. So we have packets ready, and the packets have their name on them with their tour ambassador's name on them. They have pre-printed name tags for them already, and they have an assigned ambassador that is assigned to them based upon their interests. So it is as personalized as you could possibly get. And when they arrive, they're greeted by name. So there's this feeling of, oh, they were expecting me. I'm an expected guest versus in the past, you kind of feel like a surprise visitor, like, hey, I'm here. You don't know me. Let me fill out this card. I spent my first 5 minutes giving you all my information. Now I have to write my own name tag. It's just a different experience. And we've seen like the joy of people, like they're walking to us from the parking lot and we're like, oh, you must be the Smiths. Welcome to Seton. And they just light up like, oh, they know me. They know that I was coming. And it just starts us off on a really nice foot in terms of being able to give them a great experience and let them know that we want to know them. I mentioned that we have ambassadors assigned upon common interests. I'm blessed. I have a great team of ambassadors. We schedule our visits so that there's 2 or 3 families arriving every 10 minutes. And I have the ambassadors and they give one-on-one tours. So I have an ambassador for every family walking in the door. You might not be able to do that. But if you can schedule pockets of students and maybe have 2 or 3 families, but group them together by interest, maybe that's a way that you can still get that common interest and have a tour that's a little bit more specialized because you have students that have things in common. And all of our ambassadors, when they are assigned a tour, get an info sheet so that they know what those student interests are. These students sometimes are really shy. They're 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They don't want to speak up too much, and they're really embarrassed when mom and dad speak for them. So it's really great to have an ambassador to say, oh, I see you're interested in basketball and you're interested in track and field. Hey, have you made it to a basketball game yet? I play on the varsity. They can share their own personal experience because they've got something in common with these students, and they can pull the students out. And that's part of the training that we do with our ambassadors is how do you engage these students? How do you get them talking about themselves so that we can learn more about them and that you can customize the tour as you take them through it to really speak to those students' interests. So that's as we're moving through, they've got a basic guideline for the tour, our ambassadors do, but they can adapt it. They can adapt it to the needs and the interests of the family, and they can also adapt it to the time that the family might have to spend. So those are some of the ways that we really work hard to personalize our experience for our families. And really, it's that one-on-one engagement. We make it our mission to know what every student in this building is passionate about. And it starts at open house. So that's a great way for us to just begin that journey with them. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what that experience looks like at our open house. I kind of talked about when they arrive, welcoming our guests. So we do the pre-registration process, and it enables us to know everyone and welcome them personally by name upon their arrival. When they check in, they're given these items. They get their pre-printed name tag and a personalized packet. And that packet includes our view book, which is our story, Seton at a glance, which is our stats. It has athletics information sheets, specific ones for sports that they're interested in, as well as an overall highlight so that they can see everything that we offer within our athletics program, clubs and activities information sheets, and our admissions checklist. So they have all of those pieces there. We also give them an all access pass. And what that all access pass enables them to do is to come back on our campus anytime throughout the school year. And that is free access for the student to come to any game on our campus, any theater event, any activity. They get to come in free of charge and enjoy that with us. We always have some piece of swag each year to give them, just some fun little seat and schwatchki to walk home with. The last 2 years, yes, it was hand sanitizer because it was COVID. But we try different fun things that we can send them with that are fun and engaging. One really fun thing we do is they're greeted by our mascot, Sebastian the Cougar. We want this to be fun. We want it to be festive. So why not have our cougar out there greeting them and just starting it off in a great manner. And then they're greeted by their assigned ambassador to depart on the tour. So that's how they're welcomed. Very personalized, very, very much engaged and happy that they are there to join us for the day. This just shows you that when they're driving onto our campus, we do this fun sign every year, our Going SC. It's our hashtag for our admissions process. Sebastian's out there. We take this picture every year, and I use this picture for a lot of marketing going forward for our families as well. You can see in the background of this picture our setup for our welcome. So we have our tents out front, greeting them as they're walking in from our parking lot to start their visit. This is some of our ambassadors out there just having fun, waiting for their tours to arrive. Can't wait until I have pictures that don't have masks on our student faces. And then our packets. So you can see the packet there. It's got the name tag on it. It's already labeled for that specific student, and a couple of our marketing pieces that are inside, our Seton at a glance and our admissions checklist. We've got a fantastic graphic designer that we work with that just helps us make things fun and informational for our families and keeping kind of with an overall Seton feel and look. Then Sebastian out there greeting them, and balloon arches and just lots of fun and decorations as they're first getting to our program and into our building. When we look at the tour and how we just highlight things throughout our building, our entire school is on display. I've been to open houses where basically you walk in the building and you go into the auditorium for a welcome session, and then you go into the gym and there's tables out for different departments or different divisions. And that's basically it. You don't get to see the whole school. I don't feel like that's the best way that we can showcase the school. If you've got a beautiful campus, if you've got the resources to be able to show the whole thing off for an open house, I encourage you to do so. People want to see where their kids are going to be going to school, and they want to see more than just a couple of spaces. They want to explore it. They want to have this idea of what it's going to be like for their student doing it. So we open up a classroom for every subject, and all of our teachers are in there. Being a small school, some of our subjects are single teacher subjects. We're up to about 2 for every subject now. But we just have departmental information for our students to be able to explore those subject areas. We have an area for our college counseling. Being a college preparatory school, that's a huge piece for us. Athletics, every team is represented by coaches and players for every sport. Our clubs and activities, all of our clubs and activities have a room with our ASB leadership that they just show everything that's available for students to be engaged in and involved in as they're looking at that well-rounded comprehensive experience. So the advisors are there and students are there, and they have examples of things that they do throughout the year, work that they are involved in, and accomplishments that they've had. And then We do a welcome presentation because I do think that that's important, but it's always that challenge of how do you put a welcome presentation into an open house? Because people are arriving at all kinds of different times, whether you have it prearranged or whether you have it just come as you come. Um, it's hard to figure out a welcome presentation. I'll tell you, over the years, I've done it in a variety of different ways. Where we've landed right now is we have our tours when the students come, the students take our families on the tours. And then we have set times throughout our open house that we have our band play. So it's a great way to showcase our pep band. Our pep band gets up and it plays our fight song. And when our tour guides hear the fight song, they take their tour to our gymnasium so that our president and principal, our ASB president, and myself can just do a quick welcome presentation. We want to have that opportunity to engage for our president and principal to get a space in front of everybody and personally welcome them to our school and share what are those important aspects of our school and what we believe our seat and community is all about. For our ASB president to get up and share what it's like from the student perspective and to welcome people there and to encourage them to be a part of our ASB. And then for me to get up and just talk to them about what those next steps are in the admissions process, to demystify that whole process and help them know what those steps are, and that I'm there to help guide them through that as they make the rest of the journey through the process. So that's kind of the overall flow and outline of our open house. It's very individualized. Our students have a path that they're taking their visitors through the building for the tour, but there's flexibility to choose. Like when we get up to our second floor and there's 5 different departments that they could go to, they don't have to go to every one. They ask the family, hey, we've got math and we have history and we have theology and we have Spanish. Is there one that you really want to go see right now? And then they kind of gauge how busy the rooms are too, because we don't want to walk a family into a room and realize that they're going to be waiting 10 minutes before they can talk to a teacher. So we just kind of adapt and flow as we're going through the open house. And thankfully, our students are great at doing that. So it makes it very accessible and works very well. Here is just some samples. This is some of the fun that happens in our building, experiments going on in our science lab, examples of work that our prototypes class is doing with our 3D printers, and then our theology classroom and our band director, who's super fun. You can't help but want to sign up for band after meeting Mr. Fraser. Um, our history department work from our students in art and just some displays within different areas. Of course, we can't leave out our faith and service, so we make sure that that is very visible to our students as they're touring. I always love that we seem to have some sort of drive going on around the time of open house. So last year we had a sock drive going on and the bins were out there and families could see that that's an important part, the things that our students are active in doing. Our college counseling, just the great signs that our students put up for each other around the building. We just want to make sure it looks fun and festive and just shows what our school community is like. And then our gymnasium and athletics, our track and field team and cross country team have had great success, and it's fun to pull those trophies out and show people what our teams have been doing in our weight room and just showcasing it all. So this is just some examples of what things look like within our building as we host the open house. So overall, the open house experience, we tend to think it's great for the tour to last about an hour. Now, we have some families that don't have that amount of time to give to us, and they let their ambassador know, and our ambassador streamlines the process for them, making sure that they hit upon the things that are important for them. Um, and some families spend a whole lot more time than that as well. And that's wonderful. We want them to get as much out of it as they possibly can. And then it's really important to do the follow up. So after they've left our campus, how are we following up with them? So we send a thank you email within 24 hours of the event and also ask them to complete the open house evaluation. The open house evaluation touches back upon those things that we talked about. What did we want our guest experience to incorporate? So we're going to ask them in the evaluation, how well were you welcomed? Did you get to see learning come alive? What was your favorite classroom or subject area that you experienced and why? and just some of those questions to really get to those areas, as well as ways that we can continue to follow up with them and what they might still need to know from us after their experience. So that evaluation is very helpful for us. We send a thank you postcard from either a coach or an advisor within 1 or 2 weeks. So after open house is over, I send out some contact information to our coaches and advisors and give them a list of students I would love for them to follow up with. And either our coaches personally do it or they have their team captains write the notes so that it's coming from a student perspective as well. But that's just a really nice follow up touch point for our families. We send them out an invitation to attend a game or a performance on campus where they can use their all access pass and remind them that we would love to see them again on our campus. We send follow-up email from admissions with the next steps in the admissions process. And so that includes the opportunity to sign up for spend-a-day visits, to apply online. That's an important one, right? We're going to remind them of that, and the high school placement test. So those are constant reminders that are coming from me. And just a reminder, this is the beginning of the relationship with these families. So once they've come onto your campus for open house, this is that first step, and just to continue to nurture that relationship and to reach out to them and see what that next step looks like for them. What additional information do they need from you in pursuing this relationship further? Are they interested in applying? Do they still have questions? Is there hesitancy? And what is that hesitancy? And so that's that great next steps that can be done. Then, of course, we need to thank our community. This is a big day. Lots and lots of work goes into an open house. So how do we thank them? I send thank you emails to everyone the next day and ask them to complete an evaluation too, because we want it from their perspective. What went well for them? What was challenging for them? What more could I provide to them next year to make this job easier for them? For our faculty and staff, it's a big day. It's a Sunday. So 2 years ago, we implemented giving them a dinner to take home after the event so that their family's taken care of. They just spent their Sunday away from family. We give them a dinner to take home. Last year, we did Papa Murphy's pizzas, take home pizzas so that they could go home and cook pizza and be done. And not have to go home and make dinner or worry about any of that afterwards. And they really appreciate that. For our students and our parent ambassadors and any alums that are on campus to help us for the event, I send them a personalized thank you note and a little coffee gift card. They worked hard and we just want to say thank you. And then for our student and parent volunteers, coaches and advisors, usually it's a thank you note and some candy or some little treat to just say thank you and just recognize the time that they've given us. Kind of talked already a bit about the evaluations, but sending out evaluations to all of our attendees and all of our participants. So you don't want to miss anybody in that. It's valuable information. And then we review those evaluations with our core team for insights on improvements for next year. We share the comments and the good news and all of those great things that people are saying with our faculty and staff because we want them to get the accolades that have been shared. And then we celebrate. It's a fun day. We know we shared our community well and strong with so many new people. And we just want to celebrate the success of that and just revel in what it means to be a part of our Seton Catholic family. We're exhausted, but it's also a great time to celebrate that success. So I showed this picture earlier, and kind of mentioned at that time, we do create a postcard out of this image, our going SC image, and we send it to all of our newly admitted students. So I do an admissions bag that we deliver to our families when we have offered them admission. And we have students write a nice little personalized note on the back of the going SC card. And it's really great. We also do a Loom video when I send out our admissions email. That's the first notification that a family has been admitted. We just do a little personalized Loom video from our student body ambassador, or our ASB president actually, and her little image pops up on this image and welcomes the students to Seton. So one thing that I encourage you to do as you're hosting the event and all of that's going on, make sure you have a photographer at the event because you can capture some wonderful, wonderful images. is without having to set up a professional photo shoot. Get that photographer in and take some pictures. We actually had students this last year that came for a yearbook. They're in yearbook class. They were assigned to open house and they took some wonderful photos for us that we've used in a variety of different ways throughout the year and we'll be using in future marketing materials. So don't forget about those opportunities to continue to utilize this event for a lot more and make its value go greater. So I hope that out of this, you've gathered a few nuggets. If you have any questions at all, it's kind of weird doing this through a Zoom, a recorded session. I love that interaction and the questions. So it was kind of strange not to be able to have those. So I invite you to reach out to me. If you have any questions at all, please email me, feel free to call me. I did put our Seton email or our website on here, as well as you can follow us at Seton Catholic Prep on both Facebook and Instagram if you're interested in just seeing what we've got going on. But reach out to me. I will also be at the NCEA convention in New Orleans during that time. So seek me out if you'd like to meet face to face. I would love that. I love the interaction and just the camaraderie that we can share with all of the experience that all of us have. So please reach out. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this and God bless. Have a wonderful day.